Good evening to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our evening update on now Major Hurricane Erick, which is a Category 3 hurricane now, and it is going to continue to intensify, and it is bearing down on the Mexican coastline. Let's waste no time, starting off with a satellite imagery of Erick. The latest National Hurricane Center advisory upgraded this storm just at the top of the hour, 8 o'clock Eastern time, because as I'm recording this video, it is now 8:39. The National Hurricane Center now has Erick as a Category 3, so it is a major hurricane, and it likely will continue to strengthen till it makes landfall. It still has a little bit of time left. It's probably going to make landfall sometime tomorrow morning. But as you could see, the conditions and probably some tropical storm force winds are already making their way onshore right now. And Erick continues to intensify. It underwent an eye wall replacement cycle earlier today. A very brief eye wall replacement cycle. In fact, I think it's still ongoing right now, but it certainly did not impede it from intensifying. In fact, Recon, which is currently in the storm right now, passed through the center not long ago, about I'd assume 20 or 30 minutes ago, and they found a central pressure of 954 millibars, up very way down from when Recon was in the storm earlier today, and they found pressure in the 970s. So within the past several hours, just today alone, Erick had a huge pressure drop of over 20 millibars an hour. So truly a rapid intensification phase that it went through today. And it's still ongoing right now. And in fact, you could see from why they got this 954 millibar reading. It was a drop sonde that the Recon plane dropped into the eye. They found 954 millibars at the surface with winds at 16 knots. So I guess that extrapolates to 953. And let me actually pull up the latest National Hurricane Center advisory on my phone and see what they went with. They went with 953 millibars. So 954 is what the drop sonde read, but there was still some wind with it, because when there's wind with the pressure, you have to reduce the factor for winds, and you reduce it by 1 millibar from what the drop sonde found for every 10 knots of wind. So they found 954 millibars. You have to subtract for 10 knots because it's 16. If it were 20 knots, you would subtract for 2 millibars. But in this case, we subtract for 10 knots, and you get 953 millibars. So Erick continues to intensify, and I wouldn't be shocked if this is intensifying even further and probably becomes a Category 4 hurricane. I mean, this still has a little bit of time left before it'll hit the Mexican coastline tomorrow morning, probably at or near peak intensity. And the reason why the reason why it'll probably continue to intensify, it did undergo an eye wall replacement cycle today. Earlier today, the eye wall was much smaller, but you could see now, at least as of some of the latest microwave imagery, you could see we have a much larger eye wall developing on the outer ring of this small inner eye wall. And you could also kind of take a look at the satellite too. The discrepancy of a smaller eye kind of surrounding with a bigger ring here on the satellite. So there definitely was an eye wall replacement cycle that occurred. And this is very significant because eye wall replacement cycles, especially once they're able to complete, the storm's wind field expands. First of all, Erick will probably be able to continue to intensify, and clearly it has continued to intensify despite the eye wall replacement cycle that has happened. But it'll continue to intensify, I'd assume, up till landfall, and the wind field of the storm expands. So not only do we have a strong storm, but we'll also have a larger storm as well. And with that, more people will get stronger winds, and we'll also get higher storm surge values too, because there will be more water being pushed on shore. So a bigger storm surge threat for the coast. And really quickly, this will not have to worry about sea surface temperatures because up until landfall, sea surface temperatures are going to be in the 29 to 30 degrees Celsius mark. So sea surface temperatures we don't have to worry about, and the ship's data too, pretty much indicating rapid intensification up till landfall. In fact, they have a 61% chance of rapid intensification of 40 knots within 24 hours, and this was updated as of this afternoon. And this would actually translate to, because this afternoon Erick was, I believe, still a Category 2. So this afternoon, when the ship's data came out, this translated to Erick potentially reaching high-end Category 4 status, I think up to 130 knots, which equals 150 miles per hour. And given that Erick is a major hurricane as of this evening now, and we still have a little bit of time left. In fact, I have the National Hurricane Center forecast track here. I'm probably going to cross the coast of Mexico, just to the east of Acapulco, sometime late tomorrow morning. So we probably still have slightly under 12 hours left. And now that it seems to be on the completing end of an eye wall replacement cycle, it'll probably intensify from here on out, and it wouldn't shock me if we get close to this RI probability of maybe we might even get as strong as a moderate to high-end Category 4 hurricane with Erick. I mean, it wouldn't shock me in the very least, and that'll obviously be very devastating for the Mexican coastline. But I want to emphasize to you, it's not just the wind that'll be a huge threat with Erick, because obviously there will be wind impacts. In fact, we are already starting to feel wind impacts along the coast right now. In fact, the tropical storm force wind field is already beginning to make its way onshore, and probably within the next few hours we'll start to see the hurricane wind field make its way onshore, especially that it's probably about to expand quite a bit since Erick is completing an eye wall replacement cycle. But impacts wise, there is the winds, which is a major part of tropical systems, but the most underrated aspect of it is always the rainfall. And this is something that I've really been hammering and trying to ingrain it into everybody, especially with Erick. The amounts of heavy rainfall that is going to fall over portions of southeastern Mexico, not just at the coastline, but pretty decently inland of the coast too. And also a pretty good chunk of the coast will also get a lot of this very heavy rainfall. And I say that because when it comes to major hurricane landfall, like we're about to have with Erick here, those major hurricane winds are only going to be in a small chunk of the coastline, at most a few miles long. Not a lot of people are going to experience the major hurricane winds, even though this will be a major hurricane making landfall. In fact, the vast majority of people, when Erick makes landfall, will probably only experience tropical storm force winds. But the rainfall is an impact that lots, in fact, pretty much everybody in the direct line of fire will experience from Erick, whether or not they're getting the core in the eye of the hurricane or they're just in the outer fringes of it. Because look at this, a huge section of the coast could see anywhere from 12 to 16 inches of rain. In fact, we might even see quite a few areas above that, maybe as much as 16 to 20 inches of rain, and then large chunks of inland of the coast, even as far inland potentially as central southeastern Mexico, even maybe kind of getting close here to the Puebla state of Mexico, and definitely pretty decently inland across large chunks of Oaxaca, or the Oaxaca state in Mexico, as much as up to half a foot of rain for many, or if you're using millimeters, 100 to 150 millimeters of rain. That's a lot of rain, and as I always say, the number one impact when it comes to tropical systems is the flooding rain. It's not the winds, because flooding rains can cause mudslides, and mudslides cause deaths. In fact, I mean, even our biggest, most impactful storm here in the United States, Hurricane Harvey, what was its biggest impact? It was the flooding rain dropping 60 inches on Houston. So do not let your guard down, even if you're not in the direct line of fire. If you're not going to get the eye wall or be directly in the eye of Hurricane Erick, um, storms are not a dot on a map. They are vast weather systems that have huge impacts, and rainfall is one of them. So keep in mind of the rainfall because it'll impact many across Mexico. So really quickly, let's take a look at the models here. And the hurricane models, I'm surprised because they really underdid this storm, because this is for 0Z right now. So this is 8 o'clock Eastern time. This is so 0Z on Thursday. And the HAFS model here has Erick at 964 millibars. They got the wind right, or at least this is the HAFS A model. They got the wind right at 104 knots, although it maybe might be stronger, but the pressure is a full 10 millibars weaker. So just goes to show sometimes these models can miss, and sometimes you can't even rely on the hurricane models to get it exactly right with these systems. But obviously it's going to continue to move to the northwest, probably going to make a landfall, it seems, to cross the coast around late tomorrow morning, around 8 to 10 o'clock Eastern time, and that would roughly be 6 to 8 o'clock Central time or local time here in southeastern Mexico. Let's take a look at some of the other models here. This is the H-Wharf. And the H-Wharf did even worse when it comes to initialization, only showing winds at 85 knots, or roughly around 85 knots, and that's only 100 miles an hour. And obviously Erick is much stronger than that. And then they kind of have this weakening, and they don't even have this making landfall as a major hurricane. But I don't buy that because obviously this will make landfall as a major. But once again, seems like all the models now kind of agree on general timing, and I guess similar location when it comes to Erick. So that's a good thing that we won't have to worry about. But intensity wise, I mean, I wouldn't look at these hurricane models, but it'll probably be a major hurricane, and it'll probably make landfall sometime around 6 to 8 o'clock local time, 8 to 10 o'clock Eastern time, along the Mexican coast. And really quickly taking a look at the HMON, also underdoing it with intensity. Let's see how they did with initializing currently. No, that's 2 a.m. 8 p.m. 970 millibars, so almost a full 20 millibars weaker than it actually is, although they do show it at major hurricane intensity or close to it. Actually 98 knots, I think that is 112 or 13 miles an hour, so that is major hurricane intensity. But still, when it comes to the pressure, pretty shocking, almost 20 full millibars weaker. Sometimes you can't even trust the hurricane models, and we saw it with Otis, which is a very eerily similar storm to Erick. Funny how we've been getting very similar storms in very similar places over the last several years in Mexico. But the difference is Otis was in October, and this storm is quite literally in June. And if I'm not mistaken, Erick will actually be the first major hurricane landfall on record in Mexico, in the Eastern Pacific in the month of June. So quite an interesting event that's about to unfold here. And once again, if you are along the coastline, evacuate and head inland. I'm pretty sure it is too late now to get a flight out. Unfortunately, you probably, if you wanted to do that, you probably had to do it earlier today. But your best bet is to head inland of the coast and get to higher elevation, or as high of elevation as possible, and ride out the storm. It's going to make landfall once again early tomorrow morning, around 6 o'clock, maybe 8 to 8 o'clock local time. And we're going to have an update around then. I'm going to do an update early tomorrow morning. And I should say that I was going to do a live stream tonight, but things obviously got busy, so I wasn't able to do it. But I promise you I will try to do a video, not a live stream. That will be a lot of work early tomorrow morning before this strikes. So if you are not yet subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate if you go ahead and subscribe right now. Turn on the notification bell so you can get videos the moment I upload them. And comment any thoughts you have if you have any concerns, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. With that being said, stay safe, everybody. Obviously, keep a close eye on Erick. This will definitely be a historic storm, especially for this time of year for Mexico. So I'm hoping everybody will stay safe. Peace, love, and kindness to you all. I will be on Twitter throughout the rest of tonight to keep you posted on what's happening with Erick, and I will have another video for you before it makes landfall tomorrow morning.